user and domain management. If we move back into the AAI Web UI, under the settings heading, we have the ability to provide users and user stores to the AAI system. We also have the ability to create those users. If I click on our user management page, at the top of the screen, we can see an all users and a domains tab. As we look at the data specific to the users in the system, we can see our users that have been defined. We can see the domain that they have been defined within. We can see whether that particular user is allocated admin rights, when they last logged in, and how many active sessions they have. To add a user is extremely easy. If we're adding a user to the native AAI system, we can use the Add User button on the Web UI page here and provide that user information. If I provide a username of test, in fact, let me do this slightly differently, a test, and then that will put it at the top of the screen for us to be able to review. We can choose the domain. In this case, I already have an EEM domain configured, and we'll look at that shortly. But right now, I'm going to create a user in the native AAI tool itself. I can choose a role, and a role here in the native tool itself can be either an admin or a user. And generally speaking, an admin user has the ability to do administration tasks, create job streams, add schedulers, edit schedulers, create business areas, whereas a user would have read-only rights and privileges to the information or the data that the administrator had already created. I'm going to choose an admin for this session. We can assign a password. And we are specifically told if our passwords don't match. And we can see here that our password or my passwords are specifically not matching. Let me create this user to actually show you the process in its entirety. We can add a description if we would like to, and we can save the user back into the system. And we're told by the system that our user has been created. We now have our a test user within the system. If we want to delete a user, we can simply delete a user from the JAWS domain here by selecting the username and clicking on the delete user button and confirming. And that user will be successfully deleted. When we talk about user domains, there are 3 domains that are possible to add here. We can support LDAP, EEM, or Kerberos domains. We have an EEM domain already configured here, so I would like to show you the EEM configured user domain. This is very often used in an AAI system that is integrated with an AutoSys environment. Our EEM domain, or to insert an EEM domain into AAI, there is a prerequisite. As part of the AAI platform server installation, an EEM XML file will be located on the AAI installation path. That XML file needs to be added into the EEM system in order to create an AAI application set within the EEM tool. That's already been done ahead of this enablement session. But here we can see the details that we need to provide to AAI in order for that EEM integration. Here I'm providing 2 host names. I have an EEM highly available group or multi-right setup. I've provided both of the EEM systems here, comma delimited. I'm providing an EEM administration user and password so that AAI can access the system. And then I need to specify the application name as it's referred to in EEM for AAI. Once I have that available and completed within the AAI system settings, I can click on test configuration. And here I can run 2 types of tests. I can run a test to ensure that AAI is successfully able to connect to EEM, and I'll run that shortly in a second. And I can also run a test that first checks AAI will connect with EEM, but then secondly checks that a user specified within the EEM user store will actually be able to log into the system. I'm just going to run a simplistic test of the configuration today to give you an indication of what this looks like. If I click on test, then I very quickly get a response back from AAI to tell me that the domain configuration is correct. And at that point, users within the EEM domain should be able to log into the system. Now, in the case of some AAI systems, you may have multiple domains, as I have in this particular instance. I have my JAWS domain, which is the local domain where the users are stored locally within AAI, and I have my EEM domain. Now, AAI, as you saw through the Add Domain button, can link directly to LDAP. But if you're using EEM, then EEM too can integrate with LDAP. So in essence, your LDAP system is connected to AAI through the EEM or Embedded Entitlements Manager product. If I wish to change the default domain when a user logs in, then I can simply reorder these columns by clicking on the handle to the left-hand side and dragging it to the top of the system. That now makes my EEM domain the default domain. When a user logs in, what that means is when he or she enters their username and password, there will be a box beneath the credentials that will ask the user to select the domain. And in this case, with EEM as default, EEM will be the top entry on that list of domains. So the user won't need to change anything. If you would like to hide or prevent one of those domains from being visible, then what you can do is drag that domain into the hidden row. So now what will happen in this case, we only have one domain configured for use with AAI. So now the domain selection on the login page will be removed entirely. We're no longer providing an option for the user to select the JAWS domain in this case. They will automatically be using the EEM domain. Now, I'm going to switch this back for the purpose of our demonstration today, but I hope that gives you a way and a means of understanding how this behavior can be tailored when it comes to working with those systems.